What is up, my peeps? Welcome into, got to get rid of those. Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch, and got to get rid of this as I am at a, you'll hear voices and stuff, but I am at a undisclosed location as, again, the 150th episode today. So welcome into the 150th edition of Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, and there's people talking in the background, but hey, that is okay. You know why? Because in a few minutes, I shall say, I will be in an area with the coach who's an alum of the program, alum of ASU, and is a head coach here at ASU. Yes, we had Coach Party from Petra Party from water polo on the other day. We had Zeke Jones on. We've had Willie Bloomquist on, who's an alum. You get what I'm going with this. So I will be talking to a most wonderful coach and another wonderful coach here at ASU, the 150th edition of Pitchfork Lunch. Again, at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. And you can see the show live there every day. Also on my IG, michael.carrotenuto.5. And yes, Pitchfork Lunchers, I know I tell you every day, but spread the word. Spread the word, Pitchfork Lunchers. Go to my YouTube. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube, and subscribe. Because any interviews you miss coming speaking and including the interview you're about to miss with this coach. All right, you ready? I'm going to tell you who it is. I've given you clues. Coach is an alum, one of the 8, but obviously you know it's not Zeke Jones, it's not Petra Party, it's not Willie Bloomquist, right? Any guesses? Any guesses in the comments? Anybody? All right, I'll give you a few more seconds to guess who it is. Although if you read my tweet, though, you know who it is. But that's okay. Anyone want to hit me up in the comments for show 150 here, then absolutely awesome. But yeah, I'll give it a few more seconds, and then I'll tell you who it is. Also, we're going to touch on, obviously, baseball. They had their second game at Fullerton, midweek series. Wasn't just one game, though. You figure there, 2 games, and now they take on UCLA this weekend. So we'll talk about that. We'll also start getting ready for the women's softball matchup against that team down south, which, man, they need to build some momentum. They need to go down there and tough against Stanford and Utah. Hopefully there's no B delay down in Tucson, but wouldn't be shocked if they did something like that. Okay, all kidding aside, but we will talk about that. Also, water polo is getting ready for the postseason, and that'll be in Bloomington, the MSPF championships or MPSF championships. Lacrosse is out of town again, but they are getting closer to having their seniors honored in a few weeks. So we will have that as well. And guess what? So the softball tournament is going to be the conference tournament, Pac-12 tournament, I should say, not the national championship. Obviously, that's in it's going to be in Stanford. Anyway, I'm just excited. Whew, deep breath, right? Forks up, deep breath. Forks up, deep breath. Anyway, so that being said, softball conference championships, by the way, I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but that's going to be at Stanford. They're hosting, and then the Pac-12 though tournament is at Scottsdale Stadium, as you know. So again, going to have more on that, but we're getting to that. But yes, and getting closer, obviously, to the Olympics wrestling. We had Coach Jones on, as you know. You could go to the YouTube at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube, and subscribe away, kids. Subscribe away, and catch up on the interviews, because, like I said, we do have, and I will tell you right now. So we are going to be talking to Sun Devil football head coach, who, again, obviously a very busy man, but agreed to be a part of the Pitchfork Lunch, as have, obviously Coach Regal. Always shout out for Coach Regal's way too generous, very generous with his time. When he's been able to, when I've reached out. In fact, Coach Regal, assistant head coach, obviously, special teams coordinator, working with the D line, all around he's been on. We've had Coach Bonds on. We had Coach Brian Ward on, obviously the defensive coordinator. So, but Coach Dillingham heard it was my 150th. Heard I stuck to it, and so we will be sitting down with him in just a few short. I will be sitting down with him, but you too, in the living room there, in a few short minutes. So again, don't. So if you're out there and you're watching, Low Tone Capone, my guy. Others hit me up in the comments, but yes, we will have Coach Dillingham on and get to talk to him here on this 150th episode. I just want to thank, again, everybody that's been watching, everybody's jumped in, been a part of it. Obviously, like I said, the coaches, the players I've had, friends of the program, like Chris Cartman, had him on, Tim Healy, the voice of the Sun Devils. And again, I told him we talked to him in the fall, and obviously he's a little busy with baseball. When I see him at baseball, though, I'm going to see when I can get him on again, kind of just probably after baseball season, one of the last I'll do, and just kind of wrap up the historical part of the Pac-12 with Tim Healy. And what it means, and obviously the fact that, closer and closer to the ball in Times Square dropping, right? Closer and closer to that. So, look to have him on, but want to thank Tim, obviously Chris Cartman, like I said, Brad Denny's been on. All the coaches. I mean, starting off with Coach Van Neal, Coach Winkworth, Coach Bloomquist, Natasha Adair, Coach Adair, from women's basketball, and then obviously Coach Bartlett, Matt Harris, the men's tennis coach that I've had on, Coach Party, Coach Jones. So thank you for being part of the first 150 as we move forward and try and get to the next 150, and we can only go onward and upward from here. So again, just if you've missed any of it, though, one more friendly reminder in the beginning of the show: go to YouTube and then search my channel. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC 005 on YouTube, and subscribe so you can catch up on all of it. And yes, it's loud for now, but it won't be in a second as we get to the Coach Dillingham interview. But yeah, and anything else, hit me up in the comments, hit me up in the comments or on X at Diablo00, the artist formerly known as the Twitter, as you all know it. But yeah, baseball, real quick for baseball last night. They took on Cal State Fullerton. They won that first game 3-1. We talked about that on Tuesday. And then but for yesterday, for Wednesday, for Coach Bloomquist and his squad, a little bit of back and forth, by the way. They did split. Fullerton, unfortunately, did get the win. I know. Yes, I'm a homer. No, I'm not, down voice because anything against ASU. I'm just bummed that Fullerton got the win. So now ASU is 17-21 overall, still 7-11 in conference, 12-11 at home, 5-9 on the road. But yeah, they took on, like I said, they were at Fullerton. They head down to, they're in Fullerton. They head down to LA. But they lost 14-4. Yeah, it was a tough one last night, kids. It was a very tough one last night. It was a very tough one last night, and I mean, Fullerton, after 3 innings, it was 6-1 in favor of Fullerton. They put up 4 in the bottom of the first, 2 in the bottom of the second, and then ASU answered in the top of the third to make it 6-1. Then in the top of the fourth, ASU put up 2 more to make it 6-3. They cut it in half, and then you feel good, and then it's 6-4, and then because ASU put up 1 more in the top of the fifth, and then but Fullerton, they scored 6 in the first 2. Well, they scored 6 in the 5th inning alone, and the game went 7 innings because it was a 10-run game. But yeah, they scored one in the bottom of the 6th, one in the bottom of the 7th, and it was 14-4 was the final. So, I mean, they showed fight. You know, they got down 6-0, made it 6-1, made it 6-3, then made it 6-4, and then we're down 12-4, just like that, and then 14-4 is the final. Ryan Campos leading off though, 3 for 4 yesterday. His bat's there. Kian Vu, 3 for 4 yesterday as well. Jacob Tobias was 1 for 3. He had a walk as well. Harris Williams, 2 for 4 last night. Brandon Compton, 0 for 3 with a walk. Ethan Mendoza was also 0 for 3, but Isaiah Jackson, 2 for 3 with a walk. So, I mean, look, again, bats kind of wake up. And, I mean, yes, they did score 4 runs, but they did have 12 hits. So, I mean, throughout a game, baseball game, you'll take that, right? But only the 4 runs, no errors, though. So, 4 runs, 12 hits, no errors. Fullerton had 14 runs on 14 hits, and they did have 1 error. So I'll get into that in a little bit. But, yeah, so I'm going to take a break. And then when we get back, we'll be sitting down with the head coach of ASU football, Kenny Dillingham, will be joining us here, the 150th episode. So glad you guys are here for it on Pitchfork Lunch, but we'll step aside and have Coach on the other side of this break. All right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch, and I told you the 150th episode, I get Coach Dillingham on. Coach, hey, thanks so much for taking the time. Obviously, I know I told you before, it's been a brainchild for me for a long time, being an alum, covering JUCO sports, seeing some guys come here, always rooting for ASU, and I figure, hey, you know what? Everybody else talks about their teams. I'm going to talk about the best school, not on the West Coast, but in my opinion, in the country, I think. But I thank you for jumping on with me.
Of course. I appreciate you having me.
So okay, Pat's run obviously just finished up this last weekend. And I know, I mean, doing research and everybody's seen it. I mean, you said this was your dream job. I mean, you played for Coach Regal at Chaparral. You're an Arizona kid. But coaching in the program, obviously where Pat Tillman played, and doing my research enough, I mean, you were in the stadium those years. I mean, you saw Pat Tillman play, but, you know, I know if you went to ASU or anybody that served, but it means a lot. But being part of the Pat Tillman run as the head coach now, walking through these halls, I know, like I said, it means a lot, but how special is it knowing that, yes, this is your dream job, but you get to be a part of something with the Tillman Foundation, with his family, and just engulfed in it. But now you're the head coach of the same program.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, to be honest. Can't express in words. You know, and it was so awesome to have our players out there and our players kind of feel the energy that really one person created. And I think that's sometimes what people overlook is you think about the Tillman run, and it's remarkable to really process that this was created for one person.
Right.
Everybody is out here for one person. And I think having our guys out there and having, you know, just their engagement with the community and everybody in there for one person, it's pretty special.
And recruiting is obviously always tough, but the one thing I've loved, and I tie it into recruiting, but about the Tillman run is with the renovation of the stadium, you know, I heard, you know, different things are going to, you know, be a statue of Sparky, a pitchfork. And, you know, then it was brought up. And I was told, I think by Coach Graham, maybe others too, but to have a statue of Pat Tillman, I mean, you're coaching a game. Everybody loves it. Like it's important. It's coaches' livelihoods. Players are trying to get places, but it's still a game. But to get to walk by that statue and see that was the statue put there, do you still pinch yourself? I mean, when you walk by it?
Yeah, I mean, it just reminds you how lucky everybody is. You know, our players eat there every day. They eat right out in front, right in the meal room, which looks out through the glass doors to the statue. Every time they take the field, they walk with Pat, and I think our guys just embrace it and they realize how special it really is.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, I did it. Again, no distance runner. All the viewers here on Pitchfork Lunch know. Ever since the time I ran track coach, anything over 400, I'm like, what's the point? But walk the first half and then jog the second half. I was happy with that. But okay, I mentioned recruiting, and obviously you come here, and I mean, you know, you get hired, and okay, spring ball's around the corner. You got to get a staff together. You have to get everything together. After spring ball last year, did you finally kind of take a breath and be like, we're here? Yes, recruiting is still obviously in the forefront. You have to do it. But what was that time like from after spring ball? Because you put it together a solid roster, get a competitive spring ball for your first year. But what's that time like for people out there thinking, oh, I mean, they have a coaching staff and all this help, but you guys are going not 1,000,000 miles an hour, 2,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, really after spring ball, it was just as chaotic as when we got here. I mean, we brought in over 35 kids to the team after spring ball. I think it ended up being in the 40s, not just scholarship, but walk-on, because that program was depleted. So, you know, we left spring ball with a certain group of kids, and then over 30% of your roster is different when you hit fall camp.
Right.
Nobody knows each other's names. You restart. And I think that was one of the harder parts felt like we were going in the right direction. Spring ball ended, and I felt like we hit a little bit of pause and reset just because we had to get the roster, you know, up to date in terms of how many scholarships we have, walk-on program. And then you fast forward to the season. And then after this season, you know, we had a few guys leave. But I think now you say that breath, I think that breath, you know, most people are, you know, hopefully I don't speak too soon, but in panic mode right now. This is the crazy time of year.
Right.
I feel really good about where we're at, the culture, the guys, the camaraderie. And I think after this May is when my deep breath could potentially happen.
Fair enough. And he deserves it, fans. His coaching staff, they definitely deserve it. You played at Chaparral. Coach Regal, I mean, had an injury, but you start coaching under Coach Regal. And I remember when you first got hired, you talked about, you know, you take a little bit from each coach, and your path. I mean, coaches have to be focused and to be, you know, the youngest head coach. At some point, somebody's going to be, you know, the youngest head coach in college football. Just like, you know, when John Madden was the youngest coach way back when in the NFL. But in this day and age, a lot of people say, man, it might seem too fast. But for you, I mean, you working with Coach Regal, being here at ASU, an offensive assistant, working with Coach Norvell, sticking with Coach Norvell, going all over the country. But within that start, I know you say you always had it as a goal, but does the timeline seem fast to you that you got to be the head coach here from the time you started here in 2013 to being hired, in 2022?
I don't want to sound bad, but no. Like, I set a goal to be the head coach here by the time I was 30. So I feel like I failed. Like, I didn't hit. And there are people that, I told that to. So that's just not my opinion. Like, I set almost unobtainable goals for myself. To be honest, most of the goals I've set for myself, I've failed at because I've set them at such a high rate that it's so hard to achieve them. So yeah, is it crazy to other people and do other people look at it? Yeah. But to me, like, this was when I got into this and I set a goal, I wanted to achieve everything that I set to. Right. So I feel like I still failed. I was 2 years too late. Wow. And, now we have a high standard. I want to make this place what I think it can be. I want to make this place a championship level program, a place that consistently competes for conference championships. And I think we can be. And it's just crazy enough that this whole world of college football changed when I got to the landscape of this job changed from when I first set the goal to achieve that. Because my goal was never to be the head coach here. My goal was to stay the head coach here.
Right.
And those are two completely different things. Yep. And I'm in that process right now.
You always want your coaches to succeed. And I mean, like you say, you started here, but you are on the offensive side of the ball working with Coach Norvell. You go with him there to Memphis, and then 1 year at Auburn, then you're back at Florida State with them. Coaches want to, obviously, I think it's a great profession because you do become family. And no matter what sport, like you said, 100-hour weeks, you're spending time together. They do become family. So you want to see them succeed, like Coach Norvell wanted to see you too. But is there a part of you, and I bring this up because obviously Coach Samples moved on to Oregon, and I know you're very excited for him, but as Coach Norvell was excited for you, but is it almost kind of I'm happy for a family member. Maybe you look at it as like a younger sibling, succeeding. But at the same time, they're still kind of like, man, I really want to be with that guy because you've worked so well together and you've, grown as coaches and as, friends, family, and all that stuff. What's the tough line in that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's whenever you lose somebody that you feel like adds value and you feel like does a good job and you like being around. Yeah, that's not fun. I never said that was fun. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm happy for them. And my job as the leader of the program is not just to have players succeed, but have coaches succeed and try to help coaches achieve their goals. And that was one thing Coach Norvell, Coach Lanning really, really pushed onto me working under them was you're in charge of an organization and you need to help everybody achieve what they want to get. And Coach Samples wants to be a head coach, and he got an opportunity to be an assistant head coach. And go do it. That's what I told him. If you can go be an assistant head coach and have those roles and have those responsibilities there, you should go do it. And I have to be able to separate okay, you had a lot of value to this program, but at the same token, if I say I'm about what I'm about, then I have to embrace, help, and promote you to get to where you want to go. And if I continue to do that over time, I believe the program will be in a better place.
Absolutely. And okay, so I got to ask you this because I teased him for years. I mean, like I told you, when you first got hired, I mean, I cover in high schools, was out at Chaparral practice all the time because of Coach Regal. And a few times he walked away, he's like, oh, talk to this smart guy. And I remember talking to you then, but always thought Coach Regal would be at the college level. And, family life, everybody's at different spots. But I mean, come on, as family and brothers, did you kind of, you were happy for him, but did you do what I did, kind of maybe razz him a little too much about, because it was for that rival school down south? You're happy he got a coaching opportunity, but it's at the wrong school.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I mean, he's a Sun Devil, and he knows it. I mean, he GA'd here. He's a Sun Devil. So I think secretly he always wanted to get back here. And maybe openly he'll say it, but I think he always wanted to get back here, back to the Valley. And because I think, we've talked about it for years, what Arizona State can be. We've always talked about it. Everybody talks about it. And it's the thing nowadays is it's about action. Anybody can talk about it. What actions are you going to take?
Yep.
And it's not just us anymore as a staff. It's the Valley. That's why one of the first things I said when I got here was activate the Valley, and we need everybody involved. This because it's true. That's what college football is about right now. College sports are about is you can't do it alone. You need a community to win in college sports right now.
Yep.
And we need the Valley.
And that goes with recruiting too, because you've talked about, and I know coaches have said it for years, recruiting can get ugly. Who's saying this about whatever program? And I mean, you did give us a good chuckle about a coach saying, I talked about it on the show too, and I got a few good comments about the swinging gate, like ASU's going back to that. But in this day and age with transfer portal and NIL, you have from day one of being here, and obviously even when you were, recruiting at Florida State, Memphis, and Oregon, you're going to be transparent, yes, but honest. Like, you're not going to look at me and say, oh yeah, you're on the inside track to start. Are you going to come compete? Are you going to come earn it? In this day and age with NIL and transfer portal, how much more water do you feel that holds with the athletes? Because they're obviously receiving your message and they want to come here and learn how to compete, but in just being honest, like with, NIL, what they're going to be you're going to compete. How do you, that approach, I feel obviously holds more water, but in your interactions with families and the recruits, maybe more so with parents, but the recruits and their parents, how is that transcending in the living rooms?
Yeah, I think people just think they like the honesty and the genuineness, but I mean, some people don't. Some people want to get hyped up. Some people want to hear how great they are, and they want all the promises. They want you to answer their questions how you want to answer their questions. And I really just think, especially in today's day and age, maybe 10 years ago, you could get away with it. Or maybe if you're at a school who can pay somebody so much money that once you get them there, they won't leave.
Right.
You can get away with getting them on campus and then the de-recruitment process. I think for us and where we are as a program, kids have to want to be here.
Right.
And when they step on campus, they got to know everything happened. It's better than what they expected, right, in almost all aspects. And when other people call them and tamper and reach out, they say, no, I want to be here. And I think that's all starts with honesty and trust. And that starts in the recruiting process. And hopefully we reap what we sow here in the next 12 to 24 months with those cycles of just being honest, being transparent with people. And it's not always fun conversations. Sometimes it's, I don't think you can play here. Other times it's, I think you can play anywhere in the country. Everybody's going to call you, but I hope you want to be here. So there's good and bad with those conversations. Not everybody liked them, but it's the truth.
And I've said it on the show. I mean, I played your sound, like turning the guys away. Like, yeah, they could be great players. They're not a fit here for what you want to do. It's nothing against them. It's just not going to work. And look, in this day and age, like social media, like, you said, another coach has said, why do you care what someone anywhere is saying that doesn't know you? But it's a part of life, as I know you coaches know it. Okay, with coaches, obviously, like you said, Coach Sample's gone. You bring in a guy like Hines, where you talked about the other night. I mean, bringing in good coaches. You've put together a staff, and I mean, everybody seems to gel. And it's not that it doesn't come with arguments. We've talked about that, but getting Hines Ward to come in, who obviously had a hell of a playing career he touched on, but the intangibles about who a coach is as a person inevitably is going to, like you said, it's going to echo in recruiting and everything. But in getting to know him and being around him more and just seeing how he is, I got to say, I mean, losing Coach Samples is a bummer, but it couldn't have for you guys as a staff and the program couldn't have fell into better hands as getting a receivers coach like Coach Ward. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, he's just a phenomenal person that has a passion. And I think when you're passionate about something, whatever that is, I think people see it, people feel it, people embrace it, and they get behind it. And people can see when you're fake. People can see when you're just talking. And then people can see real passion. And I think talking to him throughout the entire process, meeting him in person, his why he wants to coach, the why, he's passionate about helping people. He's passionate about the game and about what it takes to be successful and sharing the knowledge. Like, there is a genuine passion behind him. And he talked about an attitude and how you got to have a smile on your face regardless of the situation. And
You look at all the photos of him playing the game and he's smiling, but he was also that fierce competitor.
Right.
And if we can bring that style, have more fun than anybody in the country, working harder than anybody in the country, that's how he lives.
Right.
And if he can just teach those guys the secrets to that, he'll be phenomenal.
All right. So the X's and O's part are over because this is my favorite part. Like when I talk to Coach Bloomquist. Oh, I do have to thank you though, because in your words from last season after the demise of my wonderful Pac-10 and Pac-12, I fell back on your thing as a coach. Like, yeah, there's history there, but every program, all you guys, like it's onto those teams. It's onto that. Yes, it is a bummer it's gone. So you've helped the wound close for me. You and Coach Bloomquist, I think, and even Coach Van Neal, his first year here, are helping the wound close a little bit. But I'm still bummed no more Pac-12 as we know it. But from the family side of it, I mean, last year, last spring, obviously, your wife, who's an alum here too, and now you have your son. And I was teasing her a little bit last year because I saw him by the medicine balls and he was pushing them. I go, man, he's already got the right hand for it. I go, Dad must have him watching film, but obviously he picks up on things. He's a little too young to fully understand. But how cool is it? I mean, obviously, when as much as your wife can be out, like when I see you up at Camp T and he's out here, but how cool is it to yes, like you said, you're focused and driven. And you guys have to go, at that pace and understand, but to kind of like just look over it and you see your son there and getting to share it, obviously with him and your wife. But how cool is that when you see him pushing stuff around?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable to be at a place that myself and my wife both, are passionate about. She obviously danced here, and I've been going to games since I was a little boy. So it's super cool for it to come full circle. I mean, our little boy Kent now, he can't say like baseball or football or basketball yet, but any sport is ASU. So he'll go ASU. And it could mean he wants to play baseball. It could mean he wants to play hockey, but he wants to do something outside that involves a sport. And it's cool for him to recognize like he loves that. And he calls it ASU.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the coolest things about it all is one of his favorite things to do is do ASU. He thinks it's a thing. He thinks it's a sport. And that's what playing sports is. And that's pretty cool because when he gets older and older and for him to get more involved and more around the program, it's just going to be really fun for me and him to kind of grow with this place.
Yeah, no, that like I said, that's awesome. And you probably got him, sitting there. If you can't sleep, you got him watching film late at night. If he's keeping you up, you're keeping him up with film, right?
He does, actually. I'll watch film on my iPad in bed if I just can't get it out of my head. And he'll crawl over and he'll, put his arm in my shoulder and say, ASU. And, he'll watch it for a few minutes because he loves watching people run and the ball moving. And then he'll go back to my wife.
That's awesome. So, all right. So your affinity for Harry Potter, which I appreciate. Have you already started in the little, when you guys have a little vacation time, downtime? Is he reading Harry? Are you reading him some Harry Potter? Not is he reading? Obviously he's not, but reading him some Harry Potter stuff, getting them acclimated.
We are back in the day. My wife and I did a binge watching of Harry Potter back when it rolled. I used to, love reading the books, and nowadays not as much time to free read. So,
no, absolutely. When you in the last, when you look at like coming to the Valley, you said, activate the Valley comes in and people need to get involved. And if you're an alum and you're here, my theory, why shouldn't you be involved anyway? But with the other coaches here that are also alumni, because I know you were asked about, dream job, but yes, to be an alumni. I mean, obviously I know, with Coach Bloomquist, Zeke Jones, all the things in wrestling. I just talked to him, all the things that he's done, but when you're around the other coaches, I know it's good, but when you're with the others that, are alum, does it just feel almost like a tighter bond, a little bit more special because yes, you went here and now you're back here coaching. And like you said, advancing kids, whether it isn't in sports or just, being obviously great human beings and in life and giving them an opportunity.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a tighter bond with the guys who went here are alums. I think it's a tighter bond with a lot of the staff because like Coach Shaga, who didn't go here. He's from LA, that area. And his family just loves it out here. And it's becoming home.
Right.
And he wants it to become home. So I think it's more about everybody who's not in it for, okay, what is the next job? They're in it for, man, like, I love it here. Whatever stage of their life, their goal may not to be, I don't want to be a head coach at 31. I want to just be the best blank to the tight end, special teams, running backs, D-line coach in the country. But I want to do it here because I love this place and I love it living here. And I think that's what we're really trying to put together to create some consistency, is a staff that truly wants to be here. And then if they do have big aspirations to go achieve things, I'm going to help them do it.
That's all. Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. So again, 150th show. We've had a lot of coaches on. I teased Coach Van Neal because he was actually just worked out during volleyball season. He was the first coach to come on.
Wow.
And then he ends up getting Pac-12 Coach of the Year. So I told him it was 99.9% his skill and their talent, and phenomenal as they were, but it was the 0.0001% from Pitchfork Lunch to Mojo that took it over the top. So again, I'll take that. But Coach, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, like I said, next year it's going to be fun. I don't know if you can announce on the spot, but are still going up to Camp T for fall camp?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yes, 3 days up. And if you haven't gone, you need to go. It is absolutely phenomenal. Great time up there. But Coach, thank you so much for your time. We'll step aside and have more Pitchfork Lunch coming up. I mean, my mic, that was awesome. That was very, very awesome. So much ups to Coach Dillingham and obviously his support staff helping me out with this. And yeah, Coach Dillingham himself and Doug Tamaro, thank you. Lexi, Matt, everybody, thank you. But yeah, that was awesome. So if you missed it, guys, I'm bummed you missed it, but you're out. I'll let you off the hook though, because you can go to my YouTube and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC 005 on the good old YouTube. And guess what? You can go watch the interview again, and you're going to watch the whole show, but you can watch the interview again with Coach Dillingham. Again, big ups to Coach, and again, just getting to know him. Unless you see the football side and talking about recruiting, but I love that. I mean, and his son, hey, everything's ASU, and that's phenomenal. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, but yeah, again, his wife, like you said, she danced here. She's an alum. He's an alum, and then coaching, and he got back here. But it's just crazy to me, and like just hearing him say, like, yes, he wants to accomplish a lot, obviously here in the Valley. But the fact that he feels like he failed, he want to be the head coach here at 30, like. And again, people, you can say it's driven, and it's not just, tongue in cheek, like, oh, okay, I'm the head coach now, I can say that. But he is driven. He is a competitor. But you hear it in his the post-practice sound, whether he's competing against somebody in Madden or ping pong, because Jordan Tyson, and I'll have to ask him, allegedly has still not, well, I shouldn't say allegedly, has not beaten Coach Dillingham in ping pong, and they've went at it a lot. So I totally thank Coach Dillingham. Thank you so much for doing that, Coach, on the 150th episode of Pitchfork Lunch, because it is Sun Devil Nation here, all about Sun Devil Nation. Yes, I know. And for those of you in the comments, and I have addressed those before, gotten messages, no, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There was some stuff to talk about in the beginning of the fall with what was going on. Did I talk about it? Yes. Did we address it? Yes. Did I get people on here and talk about it and address it? Yes. But we all know people just want to hate because they don't get to be in Sun Devil country. They can choose to, and they should. But anyway, enough PSA there. But anyway, big ups to Coach Dillingham. Again, talking to him, obviously we have had Coach Regal on, Coach Ward, Coach Mons, just in getting to know the staff, and the energy out at practice, at spring practice. And I mean, okay, this year, but it was there last year. And tomorrow we'll hear from, I'm going to play some sound from Prince Dorba, but and, we heard it from Shamari Simmons when I played that earlier on the show, and even, Mason Williams as well. And, players I've been, lucky enough to talk to, that even though they were losing last year, and yes, the injuries, knock on wood, that sucks. We're not going down that hole again. It's out there. It happened. We move on to this year. But even though they may have not been able to accomplish all of how they wanted to practice, like Coach Dillingham has alluded to before, and talking about it, because of the injuries and not being as physical, the passion and the wanting players to get better from the whole coaching staff was there. And I mean, Coach Dillingham said it, Coach Ward said it. You can tell if somebody's being fake. It's not a fake energy. Yes, it was a tough season, but they worked and grew. And for the guys that are back and growing, and like I say, Prince Dorba, I mean, this size on the defensive line, and even CJ Fight as well. I mean, and Clayton Smith is back, and Coach announced the other day, such a bummer about Anthony Cooper. This young man is out, but like Coach said, hopefully he's around the team, because just the kind of leader. And I mean, Coach talked about in the locker room, but just see how either guys in practice respond to him, and it's just, yeah, that's a bummer, but hopefully he'll be around to lend that, his knowledge and support, and wish him nothing but a healthy and speedy recovery for Anthony Cooper. But yeah, I mean, in talking to the defensive line, I mean, and Coach Dillingham's mentioned Coach Reynolds, man, it's just in the way he is experienced, but the way he coaches it's, I know, again, I will say the cliche again, hope springs eternal. And I'll tell you right now, the beef on this defensive line, the depth, they've bulked up. Like, I know. I still fanboy and geek out about the defensive side of the ball, because yes, offense is very important, and I like it, but I've always been more partial to the defensive side of the ball. And maybe the NFL, kind of force that because of the rule changes is all for the offense, but we're not going to go down that either. But yeah, I mean, like, we'll hear from Prince Dorba tomorrow, but just what they can do. And the linebacking core, I mean, we talked about the beginning of spring, right? Before, when we had Coach Ward on, losing Trey Brown, a leader, just a guy that, I mean, exemplified everything you would want out of your linebacker, and just like to help that core. But I'll say this, and noticing it, the guys coming back in the secondary, and I'll touch more on this tomorrow too. And I've touched on it, but the guys coming back in the secondary, what they've added in the secondary, I mean, less can be more. And man, I might have 2 plays left in me with all the excitement, but but I mean, the linebacking core, what they've been doing and growing, and I know, even talking to Coach Cooper, like, and we heard him before spring ball started, had him, talking here on the show that, you want to see the growth, and they're putting them in the spots, and now they're getting it. I mean, Tate Romney had a hell of a pick 6 to end practice on Tuesday. The offense was driving there right there. Romney just undercuts a route beautifully and takes it home for the defense. So that part was, but this linebacking core again, I just see this defense and growing. And like I said, I don't want to, I want to enjoy it. It's like fine wine. You want to enjoy it, but get to your spring ball and then into the wonderful, cool confines of fall camp. And I appreciate Coach. I didn't tell him I was going to ask that, but looking forward to, obviously, as long as everything going back up to Camp T. So yeah, very, very excited for that. But like this defense, and the offense too. Believe me, I mean they've put in the hours, and obviously recruiting and transfer portal, and I know the transfer portals again just opened up. Was it Tuesday? Yeah, the transfer portal just reopened up again Tuesday, so we'll see what happens. But I'm stoked, and with Coach Dillingham, steering the ship with these coaches, and like he said, you're excited, like Coach Samples, nothing, the assistant head coach, and talking to Coach Samples, no surprise to me when he lands a head coaching job. But it was always fun to razz the great Coach Regal about so stoked when he got that first job. And this is one Pitchfork Lunchers. I will say it this one time because he got a job, so I was respectful. I will do my 25 push-ups for saying it, but at U of A. And then when he moved on to Cal, I told him, I was like, man, it just keep going. Close knit Sun Devils razzing Coach Regal a little bit, but very excited for that. So again, thank you so much, Coach Dillingham, for that. Greatly appreciate it. And hopefully next time we catch up with him, be up at Camp T, like do something up there where it's nice and green and a little cool outside, in August. And yes, and the first 100-degree day is coming soon. But that is that. So mad ups to Coach Dillingham for that. All the coaches that have given time, and you've seen the sound, the access from players, everything. So mad ups for that. And now you got you've always had, believe me, but the extra Pitchfork Lunch mojo. So totally forks up to that. But transitioning to baseball, said I get to it, as a 14-4 loss last night to Fullerton, but they did split with Fullerton. They beat him 3-1 the other night. And Wyatt Halverson, man, 13 strikeouts, no walks. Yeah, those kind of performances echo. Especially as you get into, this part of the season, the back half of Pac-12 play for the Devils. But last night, it was a tough one. Like I said, if you missed it earlier, they went down 6-0 through 2 innings, 4 in the first, 2 in the second for Fullerton. ASU finally got on the board in the third. It was 6-1, and they put up 2 more in the top of the fourth. So now you're like, okay, it's 6-3. On the top of the fifth, they make it 6-4. So they're showing fight. And then after 2 innings of zeros, Fullerton's bats woke back up and they got 6 runs. It was a tough 6th inning. For ASU, as Fullerton, like I said, put up the 6 runs, but and then they put up 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. So it was a 10-run lead after 7. That was the game. So 14-4 was the final. But I mean, look, you want to put it together, and you don't obviously want to give up the runs. You get down, and Coach Bloomquist has talked about this. To his credit, like, this is a team that, when people's, you see the record, you see, certain things about the offense, you can't say the caring's not there and the want's not there, because in a ton of games, well, maybe not a ton, but in a lot of games this year, they have gotten down and they fought back, right? They've gotten down and they fought back. So as a coach, he says that, well, okay, yeah, I'd love to see we have the fight in us, but I just don't really want to keep, being down, being behind the 8 ball too often is not going to, too much, more often than not, going to be on the short end. But I mean, you go down 6-0, and then all of a sudden it's 6-4 as you go into the bottom of the 5th, and then all of a sudden it's 12-4 after that, and that's a tough part of last night's game. But look, I mean, this team's got to fight. So for their goal, if they are to go above 500 in or get to 500, in conference play and finish the season, above a little bit above 500, taking 2 out of 3 in the series. But if they can put themselves in a position to win the Pac-12 tournament, which is at Scottsdale Stadium. So again, a pseudo home game for home stadium for the Devils. Although most of the teams last year traveled quite well, so that's how you can put yourself in position for that. But again, all about matchups. But you got to start putting it in. And I look overall the pitching. I mean, there's guys that you could string together in that, and you could string together in appearances and do it. Now, look, I'm not just forfeiting. So hear me. Don't just listen to Jimmy. Hear Jimmy. Shout out to White Men Can't Jump. I'm not saying that they need to just, get ready for the Pac-12 tournament now. No, you need to, in these conference games, it's UCLA, coming up next. They need to keep, passing the bat, but consistency on both sides. And yeah, other teams are going to score. It's college baseball. Obviously, we know this. But the one thing, the passion you hear from Coach Bloomquist, and again, the team to want, but it's just got to be that, that extra motivator, like he's talked about, from, players holding each other accountable. Not that they're not, but just somebody being that voice. So I'm just getting out there to you. But man, what this pitching staff has done and what guys have done, overall as a group and in spots, got to say I'm a big fan. Big fan. So let the offense come together, and if it blooms late, that's a bummer, because you're like, wow, where was this all season? But if it does, and you're headed to postseason play and chance to go back to Omaha, okay. So, but again, they got their work cut out for them. So that is where they were at. But yeah, I mean, again, Ryan Campos, his batting, I mean, this is, like I said, what is he 3 for 4 last night? Campy was 3 for 4 last night, running an RBI. I mean, both him and Key and Vu were 3 for 4 with an R. Well, Vu had an RBI as well. Isaiah Jackson 2 for 3 last night with a walk. So yeah, I mean, look, the talent is there. The crowded outfield, the depth. Coach Bloomquist, and you see the record, and you're saying, well, how can you say that when they have a record of 17-21 right now? I can say that because the talent is there, and you can see it, and they're working towards it. So that's how I look at it. For ASU baseball. But yeah, they're going to have to show more coming down the stretch of Pac-12 play. No doubt about that, when they have that midweeker against that team down south, which is up here in Tempe. It doesn't count as a conference game, but let's get out there and enjoy and encourage the beating of the team from down south. So that's all I got to say. How you pitchfork lunchers know how I feel about that. But yeah, and speaking of that team down south, softball, big series with the Cats. Unfortunately, it's down there this weekend. I know, Sunday's game's at 2:30, so it's kind of like a late afternoon, like a late matinee game-ish. Not early matinee, late matinee, but either way, I know Sunday's game's at 2:30. But for Coach Barley, again, they've been a little banged up, but man, I mean, the way Deb Jones has been pitching, and even Marissa Schultz, and I love when Marissa Schultz pitches too, because even when she was back at Pinnacle, when I covered her there just a few minutes ago, but when she was in high school, but pitchers, you'll see hit a lot. Some won't, but man, the fact that she can still rake, get on base when she's pitching, that's just another avenue to. That's just another avenue that I'm a big fan of, because again, she can do it. But Deb Jones, man, just crushing it. A pitch here or there, but I'll get into more of that tomorrow. But just again, get it on your calendars this weekend. They are down south they're in Tucson, taking on a team down south. So again, we got to get the mojo rolling because just like when the baseball team went down there, they took 2 out of 3. They won the series. We do want a series win, but I want to be greedy and I want all 3 when it comes to that team down there. So, but anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Yes, time is up. Again, thank you all so much for swinging by, hanging out with me. Pitchfork Lunch, going through Sun Devil Country. Again, thank you so much to Coach Dillingham. Coach, thank you for being part of the 150th show. Greatly appreciate it. And like I said, I mean, all the coaches that have up to 150. I mean, like I said, with Coach Van Neal, Coach Winkworth from women's soccer, Coach Adair from women's hoops, Willie Bloomquist, obviously with baseball, Megan Bartlett with softball, Zeke Jones with wrestling, Petra Party, just talked to her, who's also an alum and a coach for women's water polo. Coach Regal, Coach Mons as well, Coach Ward. Thank you guys so much. Made the first 150. Again, some speed bumps here and there, but you know what? Sun Devils, we just go forward with it. So working some kinks out, but yeah. So big shout out. Thank you, Coach Dillingham, for doing that. You guys are awesome for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Thirsty Thursday. I will see you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, as we get ready, like I said, for the women's softball team headed down to take on that team down south in Tucson, and the men baseball getting ready for UCLA. And we'll hear from, like I promise you, we'll hear from Prince Dorba tomorrow, defensive end, and his fellow defensive line mate, CJ Fight, Tempe Texan. That's for you, Mr. Fight, Tempe Texan. And we'll hear from them tomorrow. So have a great rest of your Thursday. I will see you tomorrow. Yes, you know, Sun Devil Country, it rocks. And I didn't forget, but yes, as always, before we get out of here, just remember, say it to everybody, even your friend, even if you know people that went to that school down south, just let them know, Forks up.
Terry's three. Johnny Walker matching up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edward pulls off. And buries the puck. Takes the shot for